Now, I was reading, and I think you even confirmed that this is the biggest film that's ever been made in Panama, or a Panamanian production.
Yeah, I mean, Panama doesn't have a big film tradition. You know, we're from Venezuela. Venezuela's been making movies for 100 years, like Colombia, Argentina, Mexico. When we did Hands of Stone, there had been two movies made in the history of Panama.
Wow.
Very small local movies. But you know, we brought a dream team of people from Mexico, Argentina, Venezuela, Colombia, mostly from Latin America, people that I have worked with in the past, and you know, used some of the local crews that existed for publicity and stuff, and created a phenomenal crew. And right now, it's the biggest release for a Latin movie in history
In America.
in America.
A lot of it is in Spanish language and it's subtitled. Did anybody ever say, oh, that's too much? You got to, have more English in the movie, or, to make it, because some people don't like to read subtitles. I hate to say that, but it's true.
Well, I mean, the studio head said that. I think it's no secret for our audience that getting a movie made about a Latin hero within the system is impossible.
Unless it's Zorro, I would imagine.
So, you know, we did knock on every single door and nobody wanted to get the movie made. The Niro called me that day when, you know, we basically dropped the towel in the United States, and he said, you should go to Panama. This movie is important for the world, but it is for sure the most important movie in the history of Panama. And sometimes money has to have a reason to invest in a movie, and you're more likely to find that reason in the place where Duran is a national hero. So my wife and I moved to Panama, and we spent a year there raising the money, and we raised $24 million in Panama alone.
Oh my God. That's extraordinary. You went to De Niro even before Edgar?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, a lot before.
And was that difficult to get a meeting with De Niro, or?
Well, getting the meeting was difficult, but what followed was what was really difficult. You know, he liked my first movie, Sequestro Express, and he liked the script. He agreed to a meeting. You know, I flew to New York, and he said that, you know, if you make a serious boxing movie with me, it's gonna be compared to Raging Bull, and that's a very bad thing.
Right.
And you know, then he said that he loved everything about the story, the politics, the background, and everything, but he said that he couldn't hear Ray Arcel's voice.
Did he know him at all through his work on Raging Bull?
He did, actually. He met Duran and Ray Arcel when he was preparing for Raging Bull. They actually played softball together.
Oh my God.
Panama versus U.S., and Panama won, and Duran reminds him of that every day. And that's what, you know, gave me the access a little bit. You know, I know you met Duran and blah, blah, blah. But he said, you know, he met Ray very briefly. He said that it was very interesting to him that he looked like a Harvard professor or like a businessman and not like a boxing trainer. And, you know, but when he told me he couldn't hear his voice, he said, if I don't hear his voice, I don't know how to play him. And, you know, English is my second language. It's a miracle that I learned to write in my second language. So the notion of finding the voice of a character who was born in Harlem in 1899 was really scary. So, but I was in New York. I walk out of the meeting, and I call my wife, and I remember that Stephanie Arcel lived in New York. Stephanie's Ray's wife, and I asked her to find her phone number to see if I can meet her. She can't find the phone number, but finds an address. I get in a taxi and go to that address, and in the intercom it says Ray Arcel. So I knock on the intercom, nobody answers. The guard comes and says, you should go up, she never listens. I go up, you know, worried that this woman must be 94 years old, and this, you know, big Latino is gonna show up at his door and scare her. So I'm trying to look like a nice Jewish boy. and And she opens the door, and I tell her I just met with Robert De Niro, who is interested in this project about your husband and Roberto Duran, but he wants to find Ray Arcel's voice. And she walks me in. She says, "You look like a guy who can use some help." And it's this beautiful, incredibly intelligent 94-year-old lady says, "Find me that notebook over there." And I open the notebook, and she starts reading what she calls Rayisms, which is basically things that only Ray used to say, which you can call his voice. And she started reading line by line many of the lines that are in the movie right now. I recorded her, and I sent it to De Niro and said, "I think I found Ray's voice." And he was blown away by the whole thing, and I started developing draft after draft, working very closely with him. He's a boxing encyclopedia, and he knows how to make his characters better. And, after 6 months, he said, "Okay, I'm doing it."
And Edgar, how did you get involved?
Jonathan called me up. Robert, as he just explained, he had been involved in the project for a longer time, and actually, I think it was the night of the Critics' Choice Awards in 2013 when I was working on 0-30. I think it was that night in the morning or in the afternoon. He called me up. I just had just got to LA, and then we got together. He talked to me about the project, gave me the script. I read it that week, and then we decided a few weeks later to do the movie.
Well, there were a lot of professional boxers in Panama you trained with, and your diet, I'm sure, had to change along with it.
Yeah. I started to train first with Roberto Duran's sons, with Robin
Roberto, all
and
called
Chavo.
Roberto
Yeah,
Duran.
Roberto. Yeah. So yeah, all called exactly. So Robin and Chavo, just to differentiate. But yes, they're both called Roberto. So the first two sons, and they became my first teachers, my first trainers for a while, and then I moved to the less privileged areas of Panama to another gym closer to what the reality of Roberto Duran as a kid would have been. So it was very important to get that texture and to understand that environment, to get as close as possible to that environment in order to
train
understand the
with
character.
boxers and
And I
trainers,
trained
yeah.
with boxers who actually trained. By the time I was training with them, they had 5 world champions who were training with me every day in the gym, and a very humble, but beautiful place.
Did you use the same locations where Duran had shot or Duran had lived, or?
We did, and sometimes we would choose that location and then hear that is where it actually happened. There was an amazing moment when Duran came to the production office and started seeing the reference pictures that the art department had, and he started saying, "Oh, this is where I was. This is where Chaflan got killed," and we're looking at each other like we just chose that
Oh my God.
completely randomly. It was
It was
pretty,
like fate. I mean, that it was some sort of
I don't know.
kismet that,
Yeah, I mean, without getting
right.
very
Mystical.
too mystical about it, it definitely felt like something was going on, all the way.
Was Duran heavily involved? Did he come to the set a lot? Did he talk? Were you able to talk with him a lot about his life?
Yeah, well, Duran is a very, very smart guy and very sensitive. So he knew that by showing up too much or for too long on set would have been not only uncomfortable for me, but for everybody on set because his presence is very strong. So he would, come for 5 minutes, say hi to everybody, and then leave, which was very, it was very sensitive. It was very smart, of him. And yes, we talked a lot, but he's a fighter, and fighters are like magicians. I mean, there's a genie in a bottle that they're not gonna let out. There's something really really precious that they really protect. So there were many things that I asked him that he never really answered. And I think that the nomas, I mean, all of them, of course, I asked straight, like, okay, so did you say the words or not? And he would not deny it. He would say no, but then he would go, he would veer and just like a little bit like you saw in the film. He's that guy who has like 1,000 ideas at the same, and says 1,000 things at the same time. And by not telling me, by not answering those questions, I think he revealed more about his personality to me, which actually helped me more to build the
In
character.
what way did that help you more? Just because you could be that person where, kind of instead of dancing in the ring, you could dance with your verbally.
Yeah, because
how
there's
you
always
answered
because
people.
there's always a hidden there's like a hidden side to it. There's always a card that they are not showing.
Right.
And if you look at the film, something that really strikes me about the script that Jonathan wrote, is the fact that it's all boxing warfare. I mean, it's psychological warfare. I mean, the movie really focuses on the psychological aspects of the sport, and you could see that it's all about strategy and tactics, and that is something that yes, you have to achieve for the ring, but it's pretty much how you deal with life in general. So Roberto has always there's a content that he's never revealing, and even up until till this day, we're friends. I mean, we've all become family because actually this is one of those movies where we're all, it doesn't happen in every movie, but in this movie, because of all the circumstances, we're all very close. Everybody in the film. And Roberto, I go to his house. We have lunch. I mean, his wife Fula, she cooks amazingly, and there are many things that not even until this day he's gonna. I actually remember one day I said, okay, let's get him drunk and see if he opens up, and no, when he said, and I'm drunk and I'm here, but there's something that happened in my life that nobody will never know, not even my wife will ever know. I said, really, Roberto? Not even me? Not even you. You know, I'm not going to tell you. Like very openly. And I said, okay, perfect. So that right there helped me so much, to understand his state of mind.
Did you follow the fights? I mean, did you have the choreography? Did you shoot it as it really happened?
Yeah, it's literally beat by beat
Oh my God.
what happened.
Did you have a choreographer or a fight choreographer help you then?
Yeah, we
get all
had a
that?
choreographer, but the real choreographers were Leonard and Duran. I mean,
Right.
they there's nothing that you see here that isn't a recreation of a specific moment of that fight that happened. And we actually have a video that is hopefully going to be released in the next few days that shows the real fights and the fights in the movie back and
How
forth.
cool. Right. And it should be on the DVD too.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
and I promise you, sometimes you don't know which one is which. It's really amazing. Not only because the moments we chose, but because how extremely accurate both Edgar and Usher were in replicating the exact movement. And I mean, to a degree that it could be frustrating because Usher wouldn't do something on the left side of the ring because that happened on the right side. And I'm like, dude, this is the right angle.
Well, I really appreciate you guys, both of you coming out. And thank you for coming out too. We
Thank
appreciate
you very
you.
much. Thank you.